So happy Monday. Boris has been on the news this morning. He's come out. The first time we've seen him since he was taken ill. I say he looks a bit thinner in the face, I felt, but he looked pretty healthy. And his speech, I thought, was extremely good. And basically, it was saying, keep on as we've asked you to do, bear with us. If people start breaking it now, we could have a second attack of the virus. So he's saying, but they got plans for industry, to the engine of the economy to get back. But they've got plans for that, he says. So that's basically what he's saying. So that's sort of good news for business, isn't it?
That's a good news for business, because from business point of view and economic point of view, you really need to get back to normal ASAP, because every hour, not every day, every hour costs billions. So it's absolutely necessary to get back to normal as soon as possible. And I understand that lots of people are getting itchy, so to speak, and would like to get back as soon as they can. Start living back, everything back to normal. That's how we're wired. That's normal. That's nothing strange. It's to be expected. And I see the same theme going in the US, in Europe, everywhere. I mean, you cannot hold people in their homes for too long. People need to live their lives. If they feel that their freedom is taken away, that's a very dangerous card to play. I understand people being afraid that it could go, there could be a second round of all this. No one knows what's going to happen, but I know that every government needs to take measures and precautions for people to be able to live more or less normally sooner or later, because it's not sustainable.
I think that's what they're trying to do, but I could see that if they get people back too soon, people soon forget, don't they? They forget the distancing rules, and already there have been cases. I noticed one on the internet this morning of some people, two families, I think, drove to Wales so that he could go to see the mountains. Well, yeah, we would all like to go and see pretty things far away, but it was pretty stupid of them to think that they could just go on a long journey. Sure, they could justify it somehow, but it was stupid.
Yeah, I know. Whatever we think, we should obey by the rules, unless clearly it takes too long. And if there was no reason, I would understand breaking rules, but we should obey somehow. We should stick it out, but at the same time, people need to start living their lives fully. So there is a space for creativity. If all the government said, yes, we understand we can't hold people down for too long, what are we going to do about it? So that there's a compromise there, which would be a reasonable thing to do. And there's always a way. There's a solution to every problem.
But the issue is that every country has different issues. There's some countries have got a lot of free space. France is a vast country, for instance. I didn't realize until I started doing journeys to France how much open space they have compared to the UK. We're a tightly packed little country, really, and our cities are full. And they're breeding grounds for this virus, I would have thought. So every country has to deal with its own issues in its own way, and they are trying to prevent another attack of it.
Yes, definitely. That seems to be how the governments are explaining prolonging the lockdowns. There's school for every opinion. There's school which says open everything up is the best thing to do, and there's school saying no, keep it locked down for I don't know how long, how many months, and wear masks for 8 months and open the border in a year or 2 years. It depends on a choice. I know what I prefer. I know what I choose because I don't believe in fear. I believe in reasonability. I don't believe in, if we give up to fear, we're never going to do anything. So,
But in Boris's speech today, he was quite right. We're dealing with an invisible enemy. It's not like an enemy you can see who you've got to hide from, where you don't know where the enemy is or who's got it. So I think testing seems to be the key to a lot of this now.
testing, being reasonable, washing your hands, just be reasonable. Nothing amazing, something what you should have done before anyway. Something people should have washed their hands properly before the crisis. Maybe that'll teach them now, the ones who don't. It's a yes. I maybe a couple more weeks, but anything beyond that, the economy is going to be really poorly. There's already people committing suicides now because they can't cope. It's very dangerous. You need to wait if you want people dead from COVID, or if you want people dead because they can pay mortgages and they're scared to death and they commit suicides. It already started happening. So there are pros and cons for every concept, and
But I think
it's the government's.
generally people don't realise there is help available if you ask for it, if you go to the right places. And I'm sure that the main mortgage companies are geared up to trying to help people. After all, it's not in their interests, is it,
Yeah,
to have a
but
lot of
I've seen.
people who are
You would think so. You would think so, but I've seen several people who went to their companies and said, "Can you please let me?" And they said, "Absolutely not our problem." And I've seen people already. People have committed suicide because they couldn't cope. So you really need to be very, very careful, because if people start getting desperate for money, for freedom, to be able to do their own things, to be able to see their friends or loved ones, or someone they date and they can't, um, it could go rogue, and that's what I'm afraid of.
It
That's
is a
actually more
fine
dangerous.
line. It is a fine line
Yeah.
that our current government are having to walk, and it's good that Boris did say today that he's having discussions with all comers, which is good. So he's not restricting it to just a chosen few that he's
That's admirable
listening
too.
to.
Yeah, it's admirable that he's got an open mind, and wants to weigh things out, and that's what it is. Every time you're making a decision, you need to manage things. Government is a management body. They need to manage a situation. They need to wait. Are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? What's going to be worse damage? Closing, opening, and you need to manage the situation. And I think that lots of people nowadays don't understand the word manage. It's very managing.
Wouldn't
The
like to be in their shoes, quite frankly.
yeah, definitely.
And they do say you've got to be in the customer's shoes, and so yeah, they've got to look at everything. I think probably this week there'll be more information coming out about maybe how they're going to handle the going back, and I think that will go down well.
I think that it's really, really important to inform people precisely and start giving them some light at the end of the tunnel, because no one can just, stay at home and wait, not knowing what's going to happen. That causes so much stress, and stress causes really poor immune answer, and immune system is what's gonna either keep you alive or destroy you at the end. So why do it? Inform people.
Well, let's have a conversation tomorrow, see what the latest thoughts are. I wouldn't mind having a discussion about these Nightingale hospitals that are underused at the moment, and what they could be used for.
Absolutely.
And you know, there are lots of people waiting for operations. I know 2 people
That's
in
what
particular
concerns
who
me.
need urgent operations. So yeah, let's have a good old chat tomorrow and find out also about this light at the end of the tunnel. And
Yes, yay! That's what we need to talk about.
and
There's
I
going
can
to be
tell
an
you,
end to
I
this.
did enjoy my little bit of freedom, but I was so pleased to be home because it is strange times, and you
It's very
feel
surreal, isn't
comfort
it?
in your own home,
Can you
unless
imagine? Can you
unless your
imagine?
partner does something silly, and then you have to. It's not so comfortable.
Don't tempt me. But, you
Right.
know, going back, imagine if someone told you in December, the whole country is going to be closed. You're not going to be able to get out of the house. There's something weird what could kill you. You're not going to be allowed to go shopping. All restaurants closed. Can't drive.
No,
No. What would you think? What would you tell me if I told you that in
I'd
December?
say that was some sort of exaggeration that would
You
never
would think I
happen.
was on LSD, wouldn't you?
Well, yes, the worst has happened, and you know, this virus is just the biggest enemy ever to the whole world, and you know that it's it's worth just thinking about how it's affected the whole world.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. It's quite amazing. But our goal is to find all the positives in it because that's what's gonna keep us alive. So maybe
Yeah,
let's do that tomorrow.
we'll think of some good positives tomorrow. Right then.
Fantastic. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.